Tomorrow night, the guest list is being held up in front of me. I can almost focus on it. Oh yes, Governor of California Ronald Reagan, Bob Newhart, and cinematographer James Wong Howe for all of the film addicts in the world.
Why didn't you hit them tonight? I'd like to have seen them too.
Oh, you're disappointed with the people you're on with tonight?
Well,
that's a terrible thing.
She's been warning me what to say and what not to say. Told me not to be dirty. And,
I didn't say that. You just said you were going to tell that story, and you know.
How is it you know that story?
Yeah, if it's so dirty.
Yeah.
I went to one of those places that you buy your books.
What was the?
No, it's just a story he was telling me.
Nothing. It's only a
He's
story.
big
I was in London, and I was over there. I was doing some show. It was terrible, anyhow, the show. But at any rate, I had dinner at the American Embassy over there. I was a kind of a court jester. They thought I was very funny, and they invited me always. And one night, Jackie Onassis was there, and her sister, Lee Radziwill, and her husband, Radziwill's husband.
I think he
Is this clear so far?
Yeah, the prince, in other words.
The prince. I thought he was a Hungarian, and he wasn't. He was Polish.
Right.
So I, having nothing to do and not knowing this man, I told him a story. It was during the Second World War, and a woman who, I guess she plies the streets like in Madison Avenue, New York. Mm-hmm. Or are they in the television industry?
Well, there are, if I know what you're referring to, there are
ladies of easy virtue.
Easy virtue, yes, of course.
And boy, were they easy.
And,
oh, you've heard it before, huh? You rascal, you. It's the last time I visit you in the hospital. But I know everything about you now.
Come on, tell us the story.
Tell the story,
It's a most
I think.
innocuous story. It just happens to be filthy.
Well.
No, it isn't. It isn't at all. But I thought Lee Radziwill's husband was a Hungarian.
Right.
But he wasn't. No, he was. It turned out he was Polish. And I told him a Hungarian story. It's about a soldier in the Hungarian army that meets one of these women in the street, and she takes him home. And she helps him undress and takes a shower, and she fixes dinner for him. And it's rather a nice story. She was a nice woman. And they slept together that night, and then the next morning, she helped him dress again, and he took a shower again. She fixed breakfast for him. Now he's all dressed, and he starts to leave. And as he gets to the door, this woman says to him, what about money? And he draws himself up to his full height, and he says, a Hungarian officer doesn't accept money.
That's a very funny story.
But he was very angry because he was Polish.
Oh, Radziwill was angry.
Mr. Radziwill, the Polish.
I mean, the Prince Radziwill was angry.
And I did fix drinks for her because she couldn't get enough drinks that night. And I was a big wheel. No, she wasn't drunk.
Oh.
No, but she liked 2 or 3 drinks, and they were slow coming there that night at the American Embassy.
What are the 2 or 3 drinks that she likes?
No, she just had martinis. She wasn't loaded or anything. Yeah. But she thought I had influenced her because I made the American ambassador laugh.
Ah, yes.
You know, there's a different man there now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she said to me, I'd like a few drinks. This is a pretty dull party. Now, Jackie Onassis was there, her sister. That's why Lee was there. So I went out, and the 2 butlers were playing bridge. And I said, there are drinks needed in this room. Will you bring them out? And I didn't even live there at the embassy. So they brought them drinks out. Mm-hmm. And they also brought cigars. Now, my dinner party was Mary Churchill, a beautiful girl. And I knew the other one, too, Sarah, who was always loaded. There's nothing. A lot of people drink.
True.
You see anything wrong with that?
Can you think of some more of them while we're...
I'm trying to educate these clucks out there.
I see. So you can't insult them.
I want to tell you something. They didn't even know the name of Chico. How do you like that?
Chico's real name. Oh, on the quiz earlier.
On the quiz, they didn't know. They'd never heard of Chico. They never heard of Zeppo. They never heard of Gummo.
Oh, they've heard of them. They didn't know the real.
And we had done 14 movies.
Yeah.
You would imagine by this time they would know who the brothers were.
Well, it was the real name that they didn't know. And the one man thought that Carlo was one of the brothers.
There's always one of those in the audience.
I want to ask you something. Well, I won't do it right now. But I know that
Roswell?
No, I was about
I didn't tell you about Mary Churchill.
Oh, no, you didn't. Could you do it after this message?
Yes, I can. You got Reagan on tomorrow night, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know a fellow.
What?
I know a fellow used to take his wife home.
I didn't hear you.
I know a fellow that used to go steady with his wife before she married Reagan.
Oh, I'm glad you added that.
Norman Krasner was his name.
Oh, Norman Krasner.
Right.
Yes, he's a playwright, writer. But I had Mary Churchill was my companion at a dinner table in the embassy in London.
Right.
And after they brought the booze in, they brought in cigars because they know that I'm a cigar smoker. And Mary said to me, "Get me a cigar too." These were these big Churchill cigars.
Yeah.
Cost about $8 a piece. I says, "I didn't know you smoked." She says, "I do smoke. And I've always smoked, and I have a game that I play with my daddy. That's Winston. As you probably will know. And I took 2 cigars, and I gave her one, and I took the other one. And now, what is the game that you played with your father? She said, we would each light a cigar, and we would bet £1 that he always bet that he could hold the ashes longer on the cigar than I could. And I always beat him, she said. And it drove him crazy. Now here's a man who was the biggest man in the whole world at that time.
Right.
And he couldn't win $5 from his daughter.
It's a little footnote to history that I didn't know
yes,
about.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I can tell you another one, too. He was watching A Night at the Opera one night at his home in, you know, what the...
What was his home called?
Number 10 Downing Street.
No, but the one in the country,
Yes.
probably. Oh, 10 Downing Street?
No, this was 10 Downing Street. And Hess had just arrived in Scotland, and they had captured him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had come there because Hitler had asked Hess to go and visit Churchill and see if the war could be stopped. And he was watching A Night at the Opera. And somebody knocked on the door, and he came to the door, and he says, "What is it?" "We have just captured Hess in Scotland." He says, "Look, wait till his picture's over with and call me back." He was the head of the
Apparently he
British
was
government.
very cool that way. He could go to sleep without any trouble during the height of the
What
war.
do you think I'm
but
doing
to stay-
now?
No,
Along with this audience.
no, it's true about Churchill. Churchill was very calm and could divorce himself from the war. It's amazing.